Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let's introduce myself. My name is Rani Sulistiyo Utami with student number 210. Today I will answer the midterm test of ESP. Okay, let's get started. The first question is, what is ESP? According to Hutchinson and Water in 1994 argued that ESP is an English learning approach where the things taught and the teaching method are based on the reason why the learners want to learn English. ESP is an approach in teaching and using English for special fields and studies that are in accordance with the needs of the fields of science and professionals that use English. The fields of the science and professions are, for example, English for law, English for medicine, psychology, engineering, economics, and etc. The second question is the emergence of ESP. According to Hutchison and Waters in 1987, there are three main reasons for the emergence of ESP. The first is the demands of a brave new word. The second is a revolution in linguistics, and the third is the focus on the learners. Okay, and the third question is for characteristics of ESP. According to Stephens' 1988 definition of ESP makes a distinction between the first is absolute characteristic. There are four characteristics. The first is language teaching is designed to meet specific needs of the learners related in the content to particular disciplines, occupation, and activities. Center on the language appropriate to those activities in syntax, text, discourse, semantic, and etc., and analysis of the discourse. The last is design in contrast with general English. The second characteristic is two variable characteristic. ESP may be distributed to the language skill to be learned, for example, reading, and not taught according to any preordained methodology. Okay, the question number 4. The procedure of need analysis of ESP. According to Scott and Derwin in 1981, introduced 8 detailed stages to perform a needs assessment. The stages are to determine goal, determining if the goal is directly related to establishing the purpose of the study, specifically in order to determine appropriate outcome. The second is to set the limits for target population. By setting the limits on the target population, the researcher is able to specify the target population of the investigation in order to carry out more pragmatic decision regarding cost, taste, and lack of the project. The next stage is to delimit the framework of examination. Delimiting the framework of examination involves outlining the limitation of the research mainly to increase its potency. The next is to choose a data collecting device. Choosing the data collecting device includes picking out proper information gathering instrument, deciding the data collecting device relies upon the environment, range, and goal of the research. The next is to gather evidence. Gathering evidence consists of compiling the necessary information via the data collecting device that will be used in the process. Distinctive kinds of the collecting device, like distributing survey, performing personal interview, or conducting observation, depend upon a different type of approach and subsequently changing the upcoming stage. The next is to evaluate the data. Evaluating the data, the analyst can use numerous aids in the form of computer assisted investigation method or simply based on his own observation and calculation. The next is to decipher outcome. By deciphering the outcome, the analysis interprets the data developed from the technique of information analysis. Afterwards, the analysis seeks to deduce suggestions regarding the learner's language requirements by using the product of the data investigation. And the next is to criticize the research. The criticism of the research portion involves writing down recommendations from additional studies and clarifying the drawbacks of the research. Clearly, this is not the only available method to conduct an appropriate needs analysis. Okay, the fifth question is the differences characteristic between AGP and ESP. Characteristic of ESP are: ESP, the focus is on training, as the English is intended to be used in specific vocational contexts. Selection of appropriate content is easier. But characteristic of EGP is the focus is on education. Course content is more difficult to select since the future English needs of the learners are hard to predict. As a sequence to the above point, it is important for the content in the syllabus to have high surrender value. Okay, the second difference is the aims of ESP. Syllabus might only be to build a restricted English competence, but EGP is aimed to orient it, which does not equate the specification of objective to aim an educational operation dealing with the development of general capacity. The third characteristic difference is ESP learner more likely to meet in the target situation lesson based on learners' specific needs required by their professional or occupations. But EGP is learns general English for everyday use. Okay, the last difference is ESP emphasis on the language learning, but EGP emphasis on language use in daily. Okay, the last question is 3 approach to need analysis. Approaches to need analysis. The first is theoretical stance, drawn from sociological, anthropological, and educational theories. Broadly speaking, there are a number of established approaches to need analysis for ESP curriculum development. The first is situational analysis. Situational analysis is the fabric of the curriculum development process. It is the dynamical approach to needs analysis. According to Brown in 1995 in page 36, sums up that needs analysis is conceptualized as the systemic collection and analysis of all subjective and objective. And second is task-based approach. A task-based approach to need analysis aims to look at what target tasks and present learning tasks learners are able to perform. The outcome of the analysis is informing how pedagogic tasks are classified and sequenced. The concept of task was initially introduced by Prabhu taught the Bangalore project, which aimed to implement large-scale syllabus design based entirely on tasks within a communicative. Okay, the third approach is ethnographic approach. Ethnographic is an investigative tool is central to wide-ranging discipline of study. Is our reflective process which involves common steps. The first is selecting and sampling case. The second is gaining assess and negotiating it with gatekeepers, and the third is observing and interviewing, and the next is recording and according and managing data, and then analyzing the data analysis and writing a researcher report. And ethnographically oriented need analysis must be carried out in ways that are sensitive to the nature of the setting and that of the phenomena being investigated. Okay, the last question is why need analysis is important in ESP. Need analysis can be a vital asset for the teacher of ESP to identify the learner's key requirements or needs and determine the areas in which they are lacking skill. Okay, that's all in my answer question of midterm test of ESP. Thank you for your watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.